Hey, what's up everybody, Nexel here. Today we are playing Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, continuing on with our tutorial about Lux building. So the last video was a video about what happens when you put a Lux Skill on your attack medal. In that case it was a Classic Donald B. This time we're going to be talking about putting Lux Max on your buffer medals. And more likely than not, your buffer medals, just because of the nature of buffer medals, are going to be AoE. They're going to be pretty much hitting every single point on the target. So if it has like limbs or appendages, it's going to hit those guys. And the setups we're going to be using are a little less consistent than our Classic Donald, just because we had two copies of that Classic Donald. One we can put the AB2 Max on, and then the other one we put AB2 Max Lux Plus. In our buffer setup, we are going to be showing the difference between these two setups here. So as you can see, the only difference between these two setups is going to be what's in that third slot. So in our non-Lux building setup, we're going to have Key Art Bonds. The difference between this and the next medal is going to be it has the trait plus 1000 strength, as well as the skill AB4 Max, Attack Boost 4 Max. When we compare that to our Key Art Beginnings, it does not have that additional plus 1000 boosted status, or plus 1000 strength from a trait. But we only have AB3 Max and Lux Plus on it versus AB4 Max. So again, it's going to be a little bit inconsistent just because, you know, I didn't have two copies of a buffer medal that I thought was like worthy of putting in this video, especially ones that I didn't have enough Lux Max skills to put on. So we're going to use what we already have. So let's go ahead and dive right in. We will be showing our setup without the Lux boost first, just like we did in the first video. Again, if you look at the rest of the setup, it's mainly intended to just do damage so that we could speed through these runs. So we're going to go ahead and go in with this setup right here, because this is going to be the most consistent. As you guys noticed, that 6th medal did have an AB3 Max Lux Plus on it. It's 100%, so even though I have another Lux medal on here, because it's the same medal between the first and the second setup, and because it's 100% proc rate, it shouldn't make a difference in calculating how much our buffer is going to give to us. This video also kind of goes into the idea of, you know, how much Lux do you actually get from the limbs, which is an entirely different video. I don't think I'll be able to get to it this weekend, but we shall see if I can get to it next weekend. So the difference between using AoE medals versus single target versus random. I will talk about that a little bit in my speed videos that I hope to get within this run. But for now, let's focus on our buffers. Let's focus on how much additional Lux we're going to get from buffers that are AoE and that are able to hit appendages and build extra Lux. So as you can see, we're going in. Hopefully we're able to one-shot this thing, or at the very least we have more turns than it says at the top, because the pet has HP recovery 1, as well as Kyrie EX having second chance 3. So the odds of me at least being able to do this in one go versus, you know, dying, coming back to fight it again are pretty high. So let's see if we can pull it off. I'm pretty sure we can, considering there's only one turn left. And again, this is our non-Lux setup. So this is going to be pretty much our base amount, with the exception of that one medal at the end that's going to be giving us a Lux boost. So let's burn through this. This is actually the first time I'm using the Lord of the Dead medal. I'm super excited just because I was able to get damage and raids on it. But that's irrelevant. That's a hype moment for a different video. Okay, so this is again our non-Lux setup. For the amount of Lux we got, it looks like it comes out to 5,078,597. And pretty much all that Lux is from having the King, Donald, and Goofy there. So again, it was a tier 5. It has damage and raids plus 80% because I have dual damage and raids on it. So that's why, you know, that did so much damage, and that's probably why we got so much Lux there. So let's go ahead and move into our second setup, which has, again, the Key Art Beginnings. It's weaker than our Key Art Bonds, but if anything, that's just going to prove our test even more. Let's actually, yeah. So the problem right now that I'm running into is that I can't do this as fast because it takes 3 eggs on off raid hours in order to spawn the boss. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later in our video that's going to be talking about raid boss speeds. So we're going to have to do this one more time. Sorry that you guys have to stick around for watching me do the same mission twice. But it does kind of help with consistency of knowing that I did this all in one go, rather than cutting it, making edits, kind of cheating the system, and making it seem like, I'm doing, like, illegal stuff here. The only thing that could honestly, like, prove that point even more, if there was, like, a clock up in this area right here. But I don't know how to do that quite yet. Maybe I'll learn. This is the first time I'd ever really need to use something like that. So we'll see. We'll see what we need. We have 50 minutes left to the weekend, meaning that we have 50 minutes left to record our raid videos. Alright, so we're going to move into our raid boss again using a buffer medal that has an AoE attack, area of effect attack, that's going to hit the limbs and then help us build Lux. So let's go ahead into this raid boss. And this is going to kind of dip into that video, which is going to be like single target versus AoE medals. Which one do you give the Lux skill to? But that's also dependent on speed, and I'll talk about it a little bit in the speed videos coming later on. But for now, let's focus on our buffers that have Lux Plus on them. So we're just doing damage. We are just clearing this enemy as much as we can, as quickly as we can. It's good that, I have good consistency with keeping the limbs alive. So the limbs were alive after, or pretty much before the shared medal in the first turn for both rounds. Meaning that, we got to see, it kept it consistent. It kept it consistent because Envy's damage is now consistent. It had to do the AoE amount of damage that it does versus the single target amount. So that's just another consistency point. I know that sounded a little bit confusing. I could have worded that better. But if you have any questions about that, feel free to throw it in the comments below, and I will try my best to answer that one as well. So we are still hitting it with our buffer medal that has Lux Plus on it, except it only got the Lux Plus on limbs during the first turn, not the second turn, because by the second turn they were already knocked out. But again, that's a different topic entirely. Single target medals versus AoE versus random target medals. And hopefully I get a chance to talk about that later. Let me actually write that down, because that would be a good topic for one of the later videos. Okay. That one's going to be a lot harder to prove though, because it's going to be hard to find consistency between just using a single target versus an AoE, because of like differing multipliers and stuff like that. Okay, so using our Lux building setup that has the buffer that has a Lux skill on it, let's see what the difference is. So the difference is gonna be 5,355,794. So it's not as much of a difference as when we slammed the Lux Plus skill on our attack medal. In that video, we had a difference of about 900,000 to 1 billion. In this one, we only have just a slight difference coming in at about 300,000. But again, everything you do is going to be towards building Lux. It's going to be towards, getting those higher ranks and helping your party get those higher ranks. So even putting Lux skills on your buffer is still going to do a lot of damage. It's still going to build you, a good amount of Lux. 300,000 Lux is not a lot to laugh at, just because it's a lot. It really is a lot when you really think about it in comparison to, how you might Lux build outside of the weekend raid boss, outside of just raiding in general. So that's the difference between having Lux skills on buffers that are sort of AoE. They come on earlier in your Keyblade. It's a difference of about 300,000 between the two setups we used. It could have been even a little bit greater if we had AB4 Max Lux Plus on Key Art Beginnings, and if it was, it had that plus 1,000 strength trait. But again, it's still a good difference. It's still higher, meaning that the Lux Plus skill did matter in the long run. But that's it for the buffers video, throwing Lux Plus on a buffer medal. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to throw it down in the comment section below, and I will try my best to answer it. But I gotta move on to the next video. We're running out of time here. Until the next video, everyone, take it easy.